So, Morgan, picture your sweet old grandma for a second. You know the one. She's got a fresh batch of cookies ready, she's humming while she knits in her rocking chair, and she always gives the best hugs.
Totally. Warm sweaters, maybe a little too much prune cake, and always a cheerful smile on her face.
Right. Now imagine her hiding a dark, deadly secret behind that grin. Today we're talking about Nannie Doss, famously known as the Giggling Granny. Between 1920 and 1954, she left a trail of bodies across the South, 11 people in total, including 4 husbands, her mother, and even her own grandkids.
11 people? How does someone pull that off for 30 years without anyone catching on?
Honestly, by being normal. She was a huge fan of romance novels and baking. Nobody looks at a sweet grandmother and thinks serial killer. When the police finally caught her, she didn't cry or deny it. She actually laughed through her interrogation. She told investigators she was just searching for her perfect mate.
It's one of the most chilling cases in American history, specifically because of how ordinary she seemed. She used that sweet old lady persona as the ultimate camouflage while she poisoned her way through her entire family tree.
Nannie's story kicks off in 1905, but things took a sharp turn when she was just 7. She hit her head while riding a train, and honestly, she spent the rest of her life blaming her spells and those chronic headaches on that one moment.
By 16, she was totally over her strict, super controlling father and just wanted out. So she marries Charlie Braggs after knowing him for only 4 months. It was fast, even for back then.
They had 4 kids, but the happily ever after part, not so much. 2 of their little girls died suddenly, and the doctors chalked it up to food poisoning. Keep in mind, Charlie's mother was living with them then too.
Charlie got so weirded out by the deaths and how Nannie was acting that he basically pulled out nope and vanished. He took one of the surviving kids and just ran for his life. Looking back, he's probably the only man who truly escaped her, and you can't really blame him for trusting his gut that something was seriously wrong.
So after husband number 1 basically ran for his life, Nannie didn't spend a single second wallowing. She jumped straight back into the dating pool. Well, the 1940s version of it, which was those lonely hearts ads in the newspaper.
The original Tinder, right? That's where she matched with husband number 2, Frank Harrelson. Now, Frank was a heavy drinker with a real mean streak, which was definitely not the romantic hero Nannie was reading about in her magazines.
Not even close. And Nannie had a very permanent way of fixing her relationship issues. One night after Frank came home particularly rowdy, she just quietly spiked his jar of corn whiskey with a massive dose of rat poison. He was gone within hours.
It's chilling, honestly. But she wasn't just targeting husbands. She was essentially cleaning house in general. Around that same time, her own sister Dovie was struggling with some health issues and moved in so Nannie could look after her.
And surprise, surprise, Dovie passed away almost immediately after Nannie started caring for her. It's absolutely wild that people just thought Nannie was cursed with incredibly bad luck, instead of seeing she was the common denominator at every single funeral. They just saw a sweet, helpful woman who happened to lose everyone she loved. So by the time the late 40s rolled around, Nannie was already on to husband number 3, Arlie Lanning.
Another lonely hearts odd match, right? I mean, she was persistent, I'll give her that.
Oh, definitely. Arlie seemed like a decent guy initially, but he had a bit of a drinking problem and a wandering eye. Not a great combo when you're married to Nannie. She served him up a lovely home-cooked meal, and he, unexpectedly, died. Everyone just assumed it was a heart attack from all the booze.
But the stuff with her own family, that's the part that's truly hard to stomach.
It's gut-wrenching. Her daughter Melvina had a baby boy, Robert. One day, while Nannie was babysitting, she supposedly used a hat pin to, God, it's awful, to pierce the newborn's brain.
And Melvina actually walked in on her while it was happening?
She did. She saw Nannie holding the dying baby, and she described her mom as being totally, eerily calm. Then, just a few months later, another grandchild died while in her care. It really felt like Nannie had zero off switch when she decided someone was inconvenient, even if they were her own flesh and blood.
So Nannie eventually packs her bags and heads over to North Carolina to marry husband number 4, a guy named Richard Morton.
And honestly, Richard was a real piece of work. He was cheating on her left and right, like he wasn't even really trying to hide it. But by now, we know Nannie wasn't exactly the type to just file for divorce and move on with her life.
No way. She had a much more permanent solution in mind. While she was dealing with her unfaithful husband, her mother, Lou, came to visit. And, well, you guessed it, Lou died shortly after eating some of Nannie's home cooking.
It's just so dark. And not long after the mother was buried, Richard finally succumbed to a poisoned batch of prunes. Prunes, of all things. The body count was getting absolutely ridiculous at this point, but Nannie just kept smiling.
That's the thing that gets me, because Nannie was this sweet, middle-aged woman who always had a joke ready and a twinkle in her eye. Nobody suspected a thing.
Right? She'd just sit there, giggling, reading her romance magazines and looking for the next Mr. Right to fill that void. She was basically a serial killer, hiding in plain sight as everyone's favorite grandmotherly neighbor. So the end of the road finally came with husband number 5, Samuel Doss. Now, by all accounts, Sam was actually a pretty decent guy. He was clean-cut, didn't drink, didn't cheat, and was a regular at church.
Sounds like a dream compared to the others. But there was a catch, right? He was a bit of a stickler for the rules. He banned romance magazines and television in the house. For Nannie, that was a total deal breaker. She got bored fast.
Oh, she didn't just get bored. She got busy in the kitchen. She whipped up a prune pie laced with poison. And get this, Sam actually survived a month-long stay in the hospital. His body was fighting the toxicity, but he somehow made it through.
But the second he stepped foot back home, Nannie was waiting with a welcome-back cup of coffee. That finished the job. This time, however, his doctor got suspicious because Sam had been recovering so well.
Exactly. Dying right after a hospital discharge? That's a massive red flag. They ordered an autopsy and found a lethal concentration of arsenic. We're talking enough to kill a whole herd of horses. Finally, Alabama's luckiest widow was out of luck. So, when the police finally brought Nannie in for questioning in 1954, they were braced for a breakdown or some hard-nosed denial. Instead, they basically got a stand-up comedy routine. Nannie sat there just giggling away, flirting with the detectives, and treating the whole thing like a social hour.
It's wild, man. She was telling these stories about her search for love, eventually confessing to killing 4 of her husbands. But get this, she claimed she wasn't even doing it for the insurance money. She said she was just looking for the perfect mate, like the heroes in those pulp romance magazines she obsessed over.
And every time a detective would ask about a specific murder, she'd let out this high-pitched, girlish laugh. It reportedly gave everyone in the room the absolute creeps. You can see why the press dubbed her the Giggling Granny almost immediately.
Totally. The name just stuck because it perfectly captured how disturbingly cheerful she was about, decades of slaughter. It really hits home how she got away with it for so long. No one ever suspects the sweet laughing grandma.
To avoid the death penalty, Nannie eventually pleaded guilty to Samuel's murder. She ended up spending the rest of her life in the Oklahoma State Penitentiary until she passed away from leukemia in 1965. It's just so wild, isn't it? She lived out her days behind bars, but her legacy is what's truly chilling. She basically shattered every stereotype we have about safety and family.
Totally. I mean, we're culturally programmed to view grandmothers as the ultimate protectors, the cozy, comforting figures in our lives. Nannie knew that and used it as a weapon.
She really proved that the most dangerous person in the room isn't always who you'd expect. Sometimes it's the one offering you a second helping of pie with a wink and a warm smile.
It's a haunting thought to end on. True evil doesn't always wear a scary mask. Sometimes it's just laughing along with you over a casual cup of coffee.
Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this look into the Giggling Granny.